back to my channel. This is probably going to form a series of videos because I have got quite a lot to say about this. But I'm talking about accessing therapy if you have a diagnosis of OCD. This is specifically related to OCD because pathways for other mental conditions might be different. Anyway, recently, as I think I've said before in other videos, I've begun attending some OCD groups run by OCD Action and OCD UK. They're really, really good. I know in one of my videos I was talking about when I did get triggered at one of the groups, and that was problematic, and I'm not attending that particular group at the moment just because, I don't want to risk being triggered again. But aside from that, they have all in all been really, really, really good groups that I've really enjoyed attending, and I'm currently attending the Autism and OCD group, run by OCD Action, which is in the evenings, and also a group on Thursday mornings that's run by OCD UK, which is just a general OCD group. And I'm also going to be attending a pure OCD group very shortly as well, to check that one out. And I have to say, these charities are amazing. They do really, really good job and helping people understand OCD and how to get treatment. Really good charities. I have to say, a lot better than the National Autistic Society, which I haven't found helpful at all. I used to be a member of the National Autistic Society. I cancelled my membership because I just found they just weren't really very good. I am considering joining OCD. I get confused between the two ones, actually. I have to look up for membership for both OCD UK and OCD Action, just see which one I would like to join, because I don't think I'm going to join both of them, so I'll just decide what one to join. So I might join one of them later in the year, because they are really, really good. I think you get a membership magazine or something, because they run based upon charitable donations and membership fees anyway. So for groups are 100% free, but they do run, but obviously being a member helps them with their cost, and also I just think they're just very good. So, and it's not too expensive. I can't remember how much it was, but I think it might be worth it. So I'm considering potentially joining up. Maybe it's like a birthday present to myself later in the year. But on Thursday, I attended a Zoom run by OCD Action called OCD Navigating Services Zoom, and it was really informative, and I took loads of notes. And these Zooms, they run them I think once a month, and I think I'm going to attend the next one as well, because although she's just going to go over exactly the same material as what she went over in this one, I feel it might be quite helpful for me to hear it all over again anyway. I did get PowerPoint slides sent to me as well, and I took lots of notes, and I feel this is very useful in my ongoing fight against my local community mental health team. This week, my advocate sent off all of the forms to the Ombudsman, because that's the next complaint level after Patients Advice Liaison Service, because I exhausted the initial complaint with PALS, Patients Advice Liaison Service. That didn't get me anywhere. So now we've gone up to the next level, which is the Ombudsman, and those complaint forms were sent off this week. My advocate's been very good in that level. So he sent off the forms, and now it's just a case of wait and see. I won't get any acknowledgement until about 4 weeks' time, and then it can take several months for them to deal with a complaint, so it's quite a long process, unfortunately. But there are things I can do in the meantime to try and get support. I'm not just going to be sitting there waiting passively. I can do lots of things to try and get myself support in the meantime. If need be, I will take them to court. If it comes to that, I will. But I'm hoping I don't have to take legal action. But obviously that is something I would consider. I am considering, as I think I would as a last resort, because I need treatment, and the longer this goes on, the more I'm not getting the support I need, the worse my condition gets. Imagine if someone was just left with a broken leg, and it resulted in gangrene or something. They'd have every right to go and basically sue whoever for healthcare for neglecting them. I think mental health isn't any different. This is affecting my life. The longer I'm left housebound, that's not ideal, just being left housebound. That is not okay. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, I attended this group called OCD Navigating Services, run by OCD Action, and what I want to do in this video really is I just want to go over some of the main takeaway points which I took from that meeting, because it might help other people watching this channel who have OCD, particularly those who have OCD and autism. But you might just have OCD, who knows? But basically this could be helpful for other people who are going through what I've going through, because you hear this time and time again, people being turned away from services who have very complex presentations. That's to say, often OCD combined with other conditions such as autism, ADHD, and the more complex your condition is, the greater the likelihood is you're going to be turned away from services. That is not okay, and that is not supposed to happen. So anyway, so let's get cracking. As I say, I'm probably going to have to go over this in quite a few videos over the next coming weeks. They might be well spread out though, because it depends how much energy I've got. But anyway, let's start with the first one. Okay, so this is strictly about navigating services. So in terms of evidence, they only recommend CBT, that's cognitive behavioural therapy, with ERP, which stands for exposure response prevention, and or medication as reliable treatments for OCD. Okay, so that's the evidence-based gold standard treatment. It's not just CBT, it's CBT plus exposure and response prevention, because CBT just on its own, like as you might get say for an anxiety disorder, isn't going to really help with OCD unless it's combined with exposure response. That's to say, exposing yourself to your fears, and then not. The idea is that you then resist a compulsion, and the idea is that then the anxiety comes down. So that's the gold standard treatment. That has to be done with a qualified psychologist, because obviously this can be very traumatic for the person with OCD. It can, and particularly if you're also autistic and have other things going on, this isn't something you need help to be able to do this, basically. And even with help, this can be extremely difficult. But that's the gold standard treatment, and that's the evidence-based approach. The ERP, exposure response prevention part of CBT, as I said, is crucial for OCD, exposure and response prevention. But if complex, that's to say multiple conditions or severe, my OCD is clearly complex because I have multiple conditions on top, autism, ADHD, phobias, multiple phobias, health anxiety, panic, the list is endless. So mine is clearly a very complex presentation, and it's also pretty severe, I'm housebound. If complex, it can feel very difficult to engage with, it can feel very difficult to engage with CBT and ERP. Then additional therapies can be offered either before, just to kind of help a person get to the stage where they're able to engage with CBT plus ERP, or in conjunction, alongside, in other words, CBT and ERP, in order to help engagement. So this isn't a replacement, it's a kind of adjunct, if you like, to the CBT and ERP. It's augmentation, basically, and these therapies might include such things as ACT, that's to say acceptance and commitment therapy, compassion-focused therapy, and something called EMDR. I'm not entirely sure what that stands for, but all of those can be blended with ERP and CBT. Medication, anti-obsessional medication, can be used either alone or in combination with CBT with ERP. It's an individual choice, it's completely up to the person. It is well known that OCD can actually restrict the ability to take medication, so crucially this is not mandatory. Not mandatory. Go figure, that psychiatrist who was speaking out of his arse and said no meds, no therapy. Go bloody figure. It is not mandatory. This is what was made very clear at the Zoom I attended. This is in the NICE guidelines. It is not mandatory to take medication, particularly considering that OCD itself can actually stop some people from taking medication. So, if you can't take medication because of your OCD, then how the hell are you supposed to get better if you're being denied therapy because you can't take medication? And obviously in my case, that issue is compounded by the fact I have sensory issues associated with that because I'm autistic. So oral sensory issues and extreme health anxiety connected to side effects, aside from the fact that medication is just not suitable for me anyway, and that should not be used against me to deny me therapy. Okay, so now I'm going to move over to video number 2 to carry on with the keynotes I took away from this very helpful, insightful Zoom navigating services. So I'm just going to move over to video number 2 now.